At a time the world's economy is being trampled on, lives lost, families and their lineages gradually disappearing, leaders world over are striving to find solutions to the varying effects caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Forecast from the African Development Bank reveals that Africa's economic growth will rebound in 2021. There will be challenges along the way, but we will overcome them. We must start to think of inclusive policies that will catalyze economic growth, revolutionize the way we do business, but most importantly, bequeath a better brand name to the next generation of Africans. Join me at the 4th edition of the Osasu Show Symposium, themed Rethinking Africa, Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Place, virtually on www.tostvnetwork.com.
Sequel to the upsurge of terrorism and insurgency in the Northeast between 2014 and 2015, the armed forces of Nigeria, under the auspices of Lafiya Dole, were charged to upscale military operations in the general area and flush out the terrorists marauding across the swathe of the Northeast. Consequently, since 2015, troops of Operation Lafiya Dole have continued to take the battle to the insurgents, neutralizing hundreds and capturing both terrorist fighters and equipment. In this episode, we take a look at the concerted efforts of troops of Operation Lafiya Dole in fighting the insurgents through the conduct of aggressive clearance operations, fighting patrols, ambushes and raids, among others, towards improving the general security situation in the Northeast. For so long, the battle has raged across the vast desert plains of Northeast Nigeria, from Goza to Kunduga, Damasak to Baga. The gallant troops of Operation Lafiya Dole have remained resolute, defending the territorial integrity of our dear country with fervor, determination, and the patriotic zeal of die-hard citizens. It is dawn, and the troops prepare to advance into the heartland of Sambisa to flush the adversary from the general area. Indeed, it promises to be the mother of all battles, a battle for the ages, the capture of Sambisa. Knowing the task which lies ahead, the Military High Command deploys all essential and available resources to the front, from T-72 main battle tanks to 40mm multi-barrel rocket launchers, mine-resistant ambush-protected armored vehicles, among others. The troops' morale is increased. The men are motivated and given their orders, while the vehicles and other equipment are readied for the battle ahead. In advancing to Sambisa, there is no margin for error. All points need to be covered. Hundreds of soldiers are deployed as blocking forces in blocking formation at the likely escape routes of the terrorists around the forest. From the skies above, the fighter jets and helicopter gunships bombard the terrorist positions, destabilizing the adversary. The jets conduct several runs in the area, neutralizing scores of terrorists and destroying several Boko Haram structures and vehicles at the enclaves. The troops exploit the general area. A large cache of arms and ammunition, vehicles and other equipment are recovered at the enclave. Troops also captured some of the terrorists alive. Victory has been secured for today. The battle for the day has been won. The Armed Forces of Nigeria remains committed to securing the territorial integrity of our beloved country. We are committed to decisively curtailing the activities of terrorists in the Northeast, having already brought them to the level of common criminality. Please support our troops. Together, we shall win this war.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. In today's program, we have the former African Union representative to the United States, Ambassador Arikana Chihombori-Quao. She will be speaking to us about how Africa can reposition itself post-COVID-19. Don't go anywhere, it promises to be a very enlightening interview. At a time the world's economy is being trampled on, lives lost, families and their lineages gradually disappearing, leaders world over are striving to find solutions to the varying effects caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Forecast from the African Development Bank reveals that Africa's economic growth will rebound in 2021. There will be challenges along the way, but we will overcome them. We must start to think of inclusive policies that will catalyze economic growth, revolutionize the way we do business, but most importantly, bequeath a better brand name to the next generation of Africans. Join me at the 4th edition of the Osasu Show Symposium, themed Rethinking Africa, Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Place, virtually on www.tostvnetwork.com. Welcome back to the Osasu Show. Joining me now is Her Excellency Ambassador Arikana Chihombori-Quao. Welcome to today's program, Your Excellency.
Thank you for having me, my dear.
You're most welcome. First of all, I must commend you and thank you for the relentless effort you have put in speaking for Africans world over. You popularly spoke about the French continuous colonization of African countries, particularly in West and Central Africa. This led to the stopping of the CFA franc being used in most of these countries. In December of 2019, these 8 countries adopted the ECO currency. However, critics have still claimed that France still has its tutelage on these African countries because the ECO is still backed by the euro, and France is also making sure that they are also the people standing in for the currency. What do you have to say about that?
Well, what I can say is thank you for having me, my dear daughter. I appreciate all the work that you're doing to continue the conversation. Really, we're at a critical time in the history of Africa. and it is your world. You, the youth of Africa, this is your world. Our job as your elders, we know we have messed up this Africa for you, but we would like to fix it and make it right. If we can't finish the job, at least when we leave this earth, we want to be able to say to you children, this is what we have done. There was a problem in our village, and this is where you need to pick up. Going to the issue of the ECO with France, what is needed is complete separation. What President Macron is suggesting to have an ECO that is going to be pegged to the euro is totally unacceptable. To have an ECO that when leaders of the African countries want to trade, all the trades have got to go through the French central bank and then pass on to whichever country is wishing to trade with those former French colonies. That is also unacceptable. What is needed is complete separation. African leaders are quite capable of handling their own affairs. African countries, especially ECOWAS, they're quite capable of handling their own currency. They're already having discussions. The heads of state are having their own discussions. They have set up their own parameters as to what it's going to take for them to be ready to have their own single West African currency. France just needs to stop interfering. This is a program for the African heads of state in West Africa. So for France to run in and think they can just steal the program away from the African heads of state, it's not going to happen. Ghana has already let them know. Nigeria has already let them know. So this is not going to happen. They can try to play games again, but we need to let President Macron know that we're not stupid. We know exactly what game he's playing. It's not going to work. The youth of Africa, the children of Africa, we may have been asleep for far too long, but President Macron needs to know once and for all that the children of Africa are waking up. Enough is enough. The games that they have played with us over the centuries, those games are over. They need to realize that this is a new game. They need to strategize because the Africans are not going to take it anymore. So those games of trying to put in this puppet euro, renamed ECO, is not going to work.
Ambassador, should we at least pat ourselves on the back? The fact that you clearly advocated that the representative of France sitting on the board of the West African Central Bank should be removed, and that representative was removed. Should we at least pat ourselves on the back for the fact that you also advocated that their currency, this CFA, should be changed, and it was changed? Should we pat ourselves on the back for this achievement, or is there still so much more that we need to fight for?
No, we are not ready to pat ourselves on the back yet. A lot more work is yet to be done. You got to understand that France is going to be a tough nut to crack. Uprooting France out of Africa, period, is going to be a tall order. Let's make no mistake about that. For France, getting out of Africa is a do or die. For them, without Africa, France is a worse than a third world country. So we know that. What is needed from France is to treat Africa fairly. Come to the table and treat the Africans fairly. Africa is a huge continent. Africa could feed all of China, all of India, all of Europe. We could even house the citizens of those countries. That's how humongous and that's how rich the African continent is. Africa is big enough, and our hearts as Africans are big enough that we're ready to welcome the world. But they must come to Africa with respect for the Africans. Just like we go to their countries with respect for their people. We are not asking them for anything that they would not ask of us when we come to their countries.
Exactly,
we are demanding
Ambassador.
Respect.
Yes,
you come to Africa, you better respect the Africans.
Most
and
definitely.
That is all we are asking.
Yes, permit me to interject. I think one of the most shocking data that you released during one of your conversations was the fact that 50% of the reserves in these West African countries were domiciled in France. But during this recent meeting with the heads of states and President Macron, he said that that would no longer happen, that all the money in the West African and Central African central banks will remain as is. Is that enough, or is there more we need to do in preserving Africa's wealth for Africans in particular?
Well, what I would like to see is the action speaks louder than words. He made that proclamation. I have not heard anything yet that is saying the heads of state are no longer required to deposit their reserves with the Central Bank of France. So if you have more information on that, please enlighten me. It's one thing to make that proclamation. It's another thing to actually actualize it. Until I see it in writing, until I know that the heads of states are no longer depositing their finances, their financial reserves with France, it's just words coming from President Macron. We must actualize his words.
We cannot overemphasize the importance of good leadership. Because women like yourself held this sensitive position of African Union's permanent representative to the U.S., you use this platform to shine light on critical issues such as this. The world, even those of us living here in Africa, on the continent, in Nigeria, did not know this was going on in our neighboring countries. But you used your position to shine light on this very sensitive issue. So you can definitely agree with me that leadership is very important. What can African leaders do at this point, given the global pandemic? The COVID-19 has affected economies, has affected the way we interact socially. What can African leaders do now to reposition itself from a place of strength, from a place of power, to ensure that our continent thrives once and for all, and we don't just pay lip service to the fact that, yes, we're rich in natural resources, yes, we're a blessed continent, but we start to exemplify these blessings given to us?
Well, first of all, I'm constantly reminding everybody to go back to the Berlin Conference. Berlin Conference intentionally broke us up into the tiny little economies that cannot survive on their own. Africa should be a continent that needs to grow up to be like the United States. We must come together and be the Africa that we were before the Berlin Conference. Berlin Conference was a strategy designed to see to it that we will forever be chasing our tails as tiny little economies. We must come together. That is why our Pan-African fathers met in 1963, precisely to put together, to rebuild that which was destroyed by the colonizers, by breaking us up during the Berlin Conference. Sadly, they did not succeed. It took us 56 years since 1963 to finally come up with what we are now calling the African Continental Free Trade Area, which was signed in 2018 by the African heads of state. Implementation of that decision was supposed to be in July. Thanks to COVID, it's been pushed back to January. When we come together as Africa, when we go to the negotiating table as Africa, the continent, we are a powerhouse. We are a heavyweight. And we belong on the world stage with other heavyweight boxers. But to honestly think that Togo can go to the world market as Togo, that is ridiculous, it is laughable, and it is unbelievable that for 135 years we have allowed this stupidity to go on. How does Djibouti go to the world stage and claim sovereignty, standing next to the United States, standing next to China, standing next to the European Union, standing next to India? Djibouti is going to be swallowed. It is just that simple.
Ambassador Arikana, understanding the root cause to any problem is one step towards fixing it. So I thank you so much for clearly elucidating and explaining the root cause of Africa's problems. But would you also consider the lack of capable leadership as an endemic issue across Africa? We talk about the issue of corruption across African leaders. We talk about the issue of ineptitude, the issue of basic education for even most of these leaders. You hear the conversations that most of these leaders have and you wonder, are they even educated enough to hold this position of power? So what is the solution, homegrown solutions that we as Africans can prefer to pick the right leaders? Because we see a lot of thugging and violence during the elections, and anybody who has the money, the financial capacity, just assumes that power of leadership without having the requisite knowledge and self-composure to actually attain that level of power. So what can we do as Africans, African youth, people passionate about this continent, to elect the right leaders? We understand that the root cause has been decided over 135 years ago, but what can we do as a people to change the course of things, to ensure that we have capable men and women at the helm of affairs to lead this continent forward?
Let me give you an example, my daughter, of you and I on a journey, and a few of your friends, and we're lost in the forest. And in our efforts to go home, we pick up the wrong lane. Instead of going east, we are going west. It doesn't matter how much strategizing we do. We are on a losing path. We are not going home until we find our way and turn around and be on the right path going east. That is the only way we are going to go home. Through the Berlin Conference and through the policies they put in place when we got our independence in the late 50s and early 60s, where they intentionally kept the economic liberation from us, gave us limited political liberation. And I'm saying limited because they still continue to control the politics of the land through their various conniving means. We are not in control of our destiny. It's like you and I, my daughter, like I said, we're trying to go home. We are lost in the forest. We are going west when we should be going east. First and foremost, Africa must be on the right path. You can win all the fights you want to win. If you are on a losing path, you are still going down. You can win all the fights you want. You're riding in a derailing train, you're still going to go down. What Africa needs, I am not saying we do not have problems with corruption. Don't get me wrong. Corruption is a serious problem, and we must address it vigorously. However, when I look at the issues of leadership, if I were to simplify the conversation and say, let's talk about our issues as from scale of 1 to 10, I would put leadership around 5, 6. Why? Until France can leave the $500 billion on the continent, until all the other colonizers can stop extracting all these minerals out of Africa to the tune of billions, until illicit funds are stopped from getting out of Africa, until the looting of the illegal mining, the trade in plants and wildlife, all these illegal activities that are taken out of Africa, trillions of dollars combined, they want us to not talk about it. And another big one are those safe havens from all the multinationals who are working in Africa. They have existed, majority of them, even prior to independence. They do not pay taxes. The average African on the street is paying taxes. These multinational corporations are not paying taxes using these safe havens. Again, billions of dollars are getting out of Africa. Allow me to put things in perspective. When you put all this corruption from outside together, you are talking trillions of dollars getting out of Africa that we are being told not to talk about. They have done a great job at making sure that the Africans don't understand the intricacies of what they are doing, the games that they are playing. All they want us to force us to believe is that corruption is your only problem, that leadership is your only problem. No, on a scale of 1 to 10, yes, leadership is an issue. In some cases, not all. Let me make that clear. Let's not paint Africa with one blanket, one brush. No, there are many African heads of state who are doing very well for their people. We cannot just blame it all on corruption. All of Africa is corrupt. That is wrong, and we must refuse it and deny it and call it out. If you want to talk about a corrupt situation in a particular country, then talk about that particular situation. But don't take that one particular situation and extrapolate it throughout the continent. That is wrong, and we will not accept it.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Arikana Chihombori-Quao, for your time. I truly appreciate it. Women like yourself are an inspiration to young people across the continent like me who look up to you, your boldness, your eloquence, and your passion for the African continent. Thank you so much for your time. That's it for today's program. Don't forget to follow us on social media at The Osasu Show, at TOS TV Network, at The Osasu Show Foundation, and at Osasu Igbenedion on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. To read news from current affairs and sustainable development across Africa, visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com. To get involved with our foundation's work, you can visit our website www.theosasusshowfoundation.org. I'll see you same time, same place next week, and until then, keep practicing social distancing, washing your hands, and taking good care of yourself. God bless you.